You know that feeling when you're sitting in your favorite chair, maybe with a cup of tea, and suddenly a memory pops into your head, one of those old stubborn ones that still makes your chest tighten. Maybe it's something someone said years ago, or a disappointment that never quite faded. It's like carrying around a heavy bag you forgot you were holding. Well, what if I told you that letting go of those grudges isn't just good for your peace of mind? It could actually help you live a longer, healthier life. It's true. Holding on to resentment, anger, or old hurts doesn't just weigh on your heart emotionally. It can take a real toll on your body too. Studies have shown that chronic anger or stress can lead to higher blood pressure, weaker immune systems, and even a shorter lifespan. But here's the good news. You don't have to carry that weight forever. Today, we're going to talk about something I like to call Forgitude, a mix of forgiveness and gratitude. It's about lightening your heart by letting go of what's holding you back and making room for more joy, more peace, and yes, maybe even more years to enjoy them. Now, I'm not saying this is always easy. Some wounds run deep, and that's okay. But even small steps can make a big difference. So, let's start with the first exercise, one that's simple but powerful. Exercise 1. The letter you'll never send. Think of someone you've been holding a grudge against. Maybe it's a family member, an old friend, or even yourself for a mistake you can't seem to forgive. Now, imagine writing them a letter, not to mail, not to share, but just for you. This letter is your chance to say everything you've been carrying around. Start by writing down exactly how you feel. Don't hold back. If you're angry, say it. If you're hurt, put that on the page. This isn't about being polite. It's about getting those feelings out of your head and heart and onto paper. Once you've written it all down, take a deep breath. Now, here's the important part. Write a second letter. But this time, write it from their perspective. Try to imagine why they might have done what they did. Maybe they were struggling. Maybe they didn't realize how much they hurt you. Or maybe they were just doing the best they could with what they knew at the time. This isn't about excusing their behavior. It's about understanding it. And sometimes, just seeing things from another angle can soften the edges of that old resentment. When you're done, you can keep these letters, tear them up, or even burn them. Safely, of course. The act of writing them is what matters. You've taken something heavy and set it down, even if just a little. Now, I know this might feel uncomfortable at first. Old grudges can be like familiar companions, even if they're not good for us. But trust me, the lightness you'll feel after, even if it's just a small shift, is worth it. And that's just the beginning. Next, we'll move on to another exercise, one that helps you reframe those old stories in a way that gives you back your power. Because here's the truth. You deserve to live without that weight. You deserve peace, and it's never too late to start. You know, it's funny how our minds work. We can remember a harsh word said to us decades ago as clearly as if it happened yesterday. But we often forget the kind gestures, the small moments of warmth that came our way. It's like our brains hold on to the hurts a little tighter, maybe as a way to protect us from being hurt again. But after a while, that protection starts to feel more like a prison. That's why the next exercise is all about shifting our focus, not by ignoring the pain, but by balancing the scales. Exercise 2. The gratitude reframe. Think back to that person or situation you've been holding a grudge against. Now, instead of replaying what went wrong, I want you to ask yourself one simple question. What did this teach me? Maybe it taught you to set stronger boundaries. Maybe it showed you what kind of friend you didn't want to be. Maybe it even led you to something better, a new path you wouldn't have taken otherwise. Even in the hardest experiences, there's usually something, some small lesson or strength, that we can take with us. Here's how to do it. Grab a piece of paper and make 2 columns. On one side, write down the hurt or the grievance. On the other side, write down what you gained from it. Maybe it's resilience. Maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's the wisdom to avoid similar situations in the future. For example, let's say you've held on to resentment toward a sibling for an old family argument. On the hurt side, you might write, "They never listened to my side." On the gain side, you could write, "I learned how to speak up for myself in other relationships." This isn't about pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's about reclaiming your power from it. When we focus only on the wound, we give it control over us. But when we acknowledge what it taught us, we start to rewrite the story, not as victims, but as survivors who grew stronger. Now, this might take some practice. Old grudges can feel like well-worn paths in our minds, easy to slip back into. But every time you consciously reframe the experience, you're carving a new path, one that leads to peace instead of pain. And that brings us to the third exercise, one that's especially powerful for those long-held grudges, the ones that feel like they've become part of who we are. Exercise 3. The release ritual. Some grudges aren't just memories, they're habits. We've told the story of how we were wronged so many times that it's woven into how we see ourselves. But here's the truth. You are not your grudges, and it's time to let them go. Not for the person who hurt you, but for you. Find a small object, a pebble, a coin, even a scrap of paper with the person's name on it. Hold it in your hand and take a deep breath. Acknowledge the hurt, the anger, the disappointment, all of it. Then, when you're ready, say out loud, or in your heart, "I release this. It no longer serves me." Now get rid of the object. Throw it away, drop it in a body of water, or bury it in the earth. The act of physically letting go sends a powerful message to your mind. This is over. I choose to move forward. You might need to do this more than once. Some grudges take time to loosen their grip, but each time you practice this ritual, you're reminding yourself that you have a choice, to keep carrying the past, or to set it down and walk a little lighter. And that's the beautiful thing about Forgitude. It's not about forgetting, or even always reconciling. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of what was, so you can fully enjoy what is. Now, in the next part, we'll bring it all together. How to weave these exercises into your daily life, so that forgiveness becomes less of a task and more of a natural healing habit. Because you, my friend, deserve that lightness. And it's closer than you think. There's a saying that goes, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And isn't that the truth? When we cling to old hurts, we're the ones who pay the price, not just emotionally, but physically too. Our shoulders tense, our sleep suffers, and over time, that bitterness can even dim the joy we might otherwise feel in our days. But here's what I've learned. Forgiveness isn't a one-time event. It's a practice, like tending a garden. You don't plant seeds once and walk away. You water them, pull the weeds, and give them sunlight. And bit by bit, something beautiful grows. That's why our final exercise isn't just about letting go. It's about filling that newly freed space with something better. Exercise 4. The Daily Blessing. This one's simple but profound. Every morning, maybe with your first cup of coffee or tea, take just 30 seconds to silently wish that person well. You don't have to mean it deeply at first. You might even start with something small like, "I hope they have a decent day." It sounds almost too easy, doesn't it? But here's what happens. Over time, those tiny moments of goodwill start to rewire your heart. The edges of that old resentment soften. You might even find yourself one day realizing the anger doesn't flare up like it used to. Now, I won't pretend this means you'll suddenly become best friends with someone who hurt you deeply. That's not the goal. This is about your freedom. Because when we stop feeding a grudge, even with our silent fuming, it slowly starves. And what's left is space. Space for peace, for new joys, for the people and moments that deserve your energy now, bringing it all together. So let's recap the path we've walked. You wrote the letter you'll never send, getting those old feelings out of your heart and onto paper. You reframed the hurt by asking, "What did this teach me?" Finding the strength that came from the struggle. You performed your release ritual, physically letting go to signal to your soul that it's time to move forward. And now, you're practicing the daily blessing, replacing resentment with something gentler, one small wish at a time. This isn't about becoming a saint. Some days will be easier than others. There might be moments when that old anger flares up again, and that's perfectly normal. Healing isn't linear, but every time you choose fortitude over bitterness, you're doing something remarkable. You're choosing you, a life lighter. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing a memory that used to sting just doesn't anymore. That's the gift these practices offer. Not because what happened was okay, but because you deserve to be okay. So I'll leave you with this. Your heart was never meant to be a storage unit for old hurts. It was meant to love, to savor, to enjoy whatever time we're given. And every grudge you release makes more room for exactly that. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried any of these exercises? What was your experience? Share in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, pass it along to someone who might need to hear it too. After all, we're all walking this road together. Here's to your lighter, brighter days ahead. Until next time, be kind to that heart of yours. It's carried you so far already.